So I'm not allowed to comment on any of that. As you know, I'm under a gag order, which is very unprecedented. But I will say this, that the government, DOJ, et cetera, and in particular lately this office of DA, which is letting crime, violent crime, run rampant all over our city. What they've done to people in my company, they've been after us for years. You take a look at what's happened for years. The Democrats, the radical left, they've been after us for years, and they've destroyed people's lives. They've gone out, hired lawyers. They've been with lawyers for years, being sucked dry. And it's a shame. It's a shame what they've done to this country. And it's a shame what they've done to a lot of great people that have been absolutely ruined and destroyed, not only here, all over. These are vicious, vicious, radical left lunatics. The DA here is Soros backed. They shouldn't be wasting time on this. Look what they do to so many people. They're all lawyered up. That's all they do, lawyer up. In the meantime, you can't do anything in the country. The country's going to hell. They have no time. They have no anything left because they're always under siege. It's a terrible, terrible thing happening in our country. And hopefully, November 5th, the most important day in the history of our country, in my opinion, that's called Election Day. Hopefully it's going to change because these people are destroying our country, whether at the border, whether the horrible reports that came out today are jobs numbers, with all you hear, whether inflation, which is destroying us, a lousy economy, Afghanistan, allowing Russia to attack Ukraine would have never happened. Then you take October 7th in Israel, that would have never happened. All of these things happening, and all they do is they go after people. They destroy people, and it's a shame. So I just want to wish everybody a very good weekend. I was very interested in what took place today, but I just have to say, we have a country to build. We have to rebuild it. Our country has gone to hell. We're a nation in decline, and we cannot let that happen to the USA. Thank you very much.
Do you plan on testifying? Is it fair to consider the action?
Well, there you have the president speaking for about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes there. Back to Carrier Bond now. It's interesting, Carrie, because the gag order has been in the news so much, and the president is you can see him navigating around it, where he takes a quick swipe at Alvin Bragg, but then mostly it becomes kind of a chance for him to campaign a little, and he's not in violation of the gag order. Is this gag order going to be a constant thing in this trial?
And with Donald Trump, probably so. But, you know, again, if the judge wanted to undercut the criticism of the lack of fairness in this situation, he could so easily impose a gag order against Michael Cohen, who continues to talk publicly about Donald Trump. I don't understand why he hasn't done this. And it just, you know, in some ways, Cohen taunts Trump to respond. He does. Then he's found in violation of this gag order. And of course, he's also running for president, which means that everything he says between now and November could really be construed as political speech. As we know, when someone's running for president, everything you say matters about everything. And so I think the former president has a reasonable argument when he talks about it being an unconstitutional restraint on his speech.
Yeah, especially when you look at Michael Cohen and you see the amount of money he's making, you see the TikTok, and you see all these things, and every little, it's like he's running the trial in his own little world, his own little online world, and making money off of it, and nobody can respond.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know that Cohen would have a livelihood if not for Donald Trump. And Trace, you asked me earlier before we cut to the former president's remarks about whether this was a good week or not for Trump. And I would say it was. I would say that the witnesses the state presented actually helped Trump more than they did their case. You know, you had Keith Davidson yesterday, the lawyer for Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, declining to call the hush money payments hush money payments. He said it was consideration, which is a legal term. And as we know, Trump's bookkeeper classified those payments as a legal expense. So that was, I thought, pretty interesting. And then secondly, you have Hope Hicks testifying that Trump was very concerned about the impact the story would have on his wife, so that it wasn't just about the campaign. So we'll see what comes next week. But I would say that on balance, these witnesses helped Trump more than hurt.
Yeah, and I guess, and very quickly, Carrie, I guess it really comes down to, when you talk about the balance in Hope Hicks, it all comes down to Michael Cohen. It is Michael Cohen's testimony that this case really relies on.
That's right, and not one witness has had a good thing to say about him thus far, which is pretty remarkable. And yet a number of witnesses have said good things about Donald Trump. So if it comes down to Cohen versus Trump, we'll see what the jury has to say about that.
We will indeed. Carrie Bond, great work as always. Thank you. Let's bring in John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, now a UC Berkeley law professor. He says he's friends with Hope Hicks, but can objectively comment on her testimony. John, great to have you on, as always. And it's interesting because Carrie was pointing out where Hope Hicks came out and she said, listen, the concern that the former president had about all of this stuff with, the Stormy Daniels thing was the effect it was going to have on his family, not on the 2016 election. That's damaging for the prosecution.
This shows how shoddy this whole prosecution has been. These are the prosecution's witnesses that we're hearing from now. Trump hasn't even had a chance to call his witnesses. And every time we hear these prosecution witnesses, like my friend Hope Hicks here, they have actually undermined the case of the prosecution. Hope's testimony here shows that the case, the legal case, the charges that the prosecution has doesn't work. And that's what we always say in the law. If you don't have the law on your side, pound the facts. And that's all the prosecution doing now, is trying to drag Donald Trump through the mud. But Hope's testimony shows that President Trump wasn't thinking about the campaign and all this. He was trying to protect his reputation and protect his family. That shows that there's no legal crime that's been committed. And even if there was, it would be a federal crime, which DA Bragg is unconstitutionally trying to enforce here.
Yeah, and I just got to ask you, John, because, you look at this from a 30,000 viewpoint. I mean, the prosecution's case this week was not strong. I mean, these were their best witnesses, save for Michael Cohen, and they didn't do well. So what's the next strategy going forward?
If you were Bragg, in a way, you don't care about the legal charges anymore. You just want to try to besmirch Donald Trump's character. This is what the American legal system is not for. But what Bragg is trying to do is just convict Donald Trump because people don't like him in New York City, because he's a bad character. But the justice system is there to prosecute people for violating the law, for their acts, not their character.
Hope Hicks testified that Pecker explained that McDougal was paid for magazine covers and fitness columns. It was all very legit, and that's what the contract was for. Hicks went on to say she believes that she spoke with Cohen before Pecker. She doesn't really remember the conversation with Cohen, but Michael feigned that he really didn't know what I was talking about. So Cohen was clearly trying to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, and you can see from what she's testified to so far that there were multiple lines of trying to keep things under wraps in those closing days, heading into the final debates, and also to the final ballot box, and people getting there to make their decision. She talks about knowing that as these things came out, including the Access Hollywood tape, that it would last multiple news cycles. It was huge news, and they knew that they had to get some kind of control of it if they could.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
I'm aide Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Fuck the fake news. Wake the woke, wake up America. It's not about the left or the right, but what is right and what is wrong. Tune into NewsWars.AI.